I'm not here to rebuild. I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now, and wherever I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be here to win. So
I just feel like this current time, I don't feel like our future is aligned with winning right now.
I don't know, man. I just figured I just do whatever, whatever, go about my day, however, be where my feet at.
This NFL offseason is about to be special. There are not one, not two, not three, but 4 future Hall of Famers guaranteed to be on the move. And in the case of some other players, if they wind up in the right situations, it could be even more. This is potentially one of the biggest offseasons in NFL history. So which teams will come out on top? Which teams will enter a long-term rebuild? But more importantly, where are these 4 future Hall of Famers going to end up? Before we get to the content, now that the NFL is officially in its offseason, we started a brand new baseball channel called Uni Diamond Talk. In order to celebrate, we're giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on that channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. And now that we get all that out of the way, today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money, which is the best app to manage your finances. I personally love using Rocket Money to cancel unwanted subscriptions that are charging me without me even noticing. You do this by connecting your bank account. Rocket Money identifies all of your subscriptions in a single list, and from there you can select the ones you don't want anymore, and Rocket Money may be able to help you cancel with just a few taps. But that's not all. Rocket Money will actually help you lower the cost of your bills. They'll automatically scan your bills to find savings, and with just a couple of taps, Rocket Money can help negotiate your bills for you. From internet service to cable and phone bills, no need to worry about customer service calls. The app's negotiators go to work for you and try to get the best possible rate. So far, Rocket Money has helped customers save up to $740 a year when you use all of the app's premium features. They've also helped customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. And right now, you can get started for free when you go to rocketmoney.com/microphone. That's rocketmoney.com/microphone to get started for free and save a ton of money off of monthly subscriptions and your bills. And thank you, Rocket Money, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? As we all know, Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players on the planet, as evidenced by his 2023 Defensive Player of the Year award, and racking up a grand total of over 102 sacks before his age 30 season. But after finishing 3-14 last year, which mind you isn't even the worst Brown season he's had to experience, as he was also on the 0-16 Browns, Myles Garrett has finally decided to demand a trade. In Garrett's words,
I just feel like this current time, I don't feel like our future is aligned with winning right now, and that's what I'm looking forward to do at this state of my career.
To be honest, Garrett is 100% right. Any team that is paying Deshaun Watson north of $50 million to be injured and play mediocre when he's healthy is not going to win many football games. Now, this could easily be Garrett trying to get leverage over the Browns in order to get a new contract, as the last 2 years of his current deal are both non-guaranteed. But let's just evaluate the Browns' cap situation real quick. The Cleveland Browns are currently the second worst team in the NFL in terms of cap room availability and are in the hole with Deshaun Watson for over $90 million over the next 2 seasons. Even if they wanted to pay Myles Garrett, there's a real possibility that they simply can't, and their best option is to move on from him for the most amount of assets they can net. This move would decimate the Cleveland Browns defense, but at the same time, it's not like they're any closer to contention with Myles Garrett on the roster. Now, the next trade on this list could improve both teams if a deal is made, as DK Metcalf isn't one of the 4 future Hall of Famers mentioned on this list, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a chance to make it one day. DK Metcalf is currently just 27 years old, and he already has over 6,000 receiving yards and nearly 50 touchdowns. If he can turn his production up slightly over the next 6 seasons, there's a solid chance he could wind up in Canton. So why would the Seattle Seahawks want to trade the former All-Pro? Well, for starters, in 2025, DK Metcalf is due to be a free agent, which means that the Seattle Seahawks either have have to franchise tag him or sign him to a huge contract extension. And when you consider the inflating value of wide receivers with Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb's recent contract extension and Jamar Chase's upcoming contract extension, which should pay him about $40 million a year, it's probably not the best idea to pay a wide receiver who's closer to 30 than 25, especially if you're the Seattle Seahawks. They might prefer to keep their money for one more season and pay Jackson Smith-Njigba instead. Njigba already outperformed DK last year, putting up more yards and touchdowns, but get this, he did it with more targets, meaning that the Seahawks might view Njigba as more of a wide receiver one than DK Metcalf. I feel like this trade could work out perfectly for the Seattle Seahawks and DK Metcalf. The Seahawks can get rid of a talent at the apex of his value for potentially a first or a second round pick. They could use that additional capital to build up their offensive line. While on the other side of the trade, DK Metcalf could team up with a better quarterback to help build a Hall of Fame resume like previously mentioned. Even though a DK trade has been rumored, there's a good chance he stays in Seattle. But the next two NFC West wide receivers on this list are guaranteed to get traded in the offseason. Even though a few offseasons ago we went through the whole Deebo Samuel trade fiasco and nothing happened, there's a 100% chance that Deebo Samuel gets moved this time. And here's why.
Deebo Samuel, all-star Pro Bowl player for the 49ers. He requested a trade and has been given permission to seek that trade.
In 2022, after Deebo Samuel put up an incredible 14 touchdown, 1,770 all-purpose yard season, earned himself a first-team All-Pro, the San Francisco 49ers really had no choice but to hand Deebo Samuel a 3-year, $74 million contract extension. Bear in mind, this is before the San Francisco 49ers had Brandon Ayuk break out. This is before they traded for Christian McCaffrey. The entire offense was built around Deebo Samuel. But after 2 mediocre years not being able to live up to that money, the 49ers and Deebo Samuel have mutually agreed to part ways. Deebo Samuel has 1 year left on his contract, but here's why the 49ers can't just let the deal play out for one more season. They need money right now. They need to pay Brock Purdy soon, but it's not just Brock Purdy that needs to get more money. George Kittle, Fred Warner, and Jawan Jennings' contracts are all up by 2026. Plus, it seems as if Deebo Samuel feels his production is down from 3 years ago, not because he's been worse, but because he feels as if he's been given less opportunities. Deebo Samuel is as good as gone. The only question remaining is whether or not he'll finally be good when he is gone. Similar to the next two players on this list who share a spot because one of them has to be traded, but we honestly don't know which yet. While there is almost a 100% chance that either Davante Adams or Garrett Wilson will be on a different team next year, there's a world where both could potentially be gone. Unlike a lot of the other teams on this list who can't keep their players due to the salary cap, the New York Jets could easily extend Garrett Wilson and keep Davante Adams. But the reason that won't happen is because neither of them want to be there. For Davante Adams, it's simple. He already has nearly 1,000 receptions, nearly 12,000 yards, and over 100 touchdowns. There's no question that Davante Adams is one day going to be in the Hall of Fame. All he needs now to complete his incredible career is a Super Bowl. But he sure as hell won't be getting that with the New York Jets. Now, I know what you might be thinking, the Jets are a quarterback away from greatness, but when you also consider the fact that they share a division with the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and the New England Patriots, who I am projecting to take the next step this year and have a better record than the New York Jets, there's no question that there's an uphill battle for New York in order to get to contention. Despite being under contract with New York, he began entertaining a reunion with the Packers as soon as the season ended.
I would say, yeah, I keeping my mind open to, wherever. Obviously, the Packers are a great team, and if they felt like that was a possibility for me.
As for Garrett Wilson, it's simple. He wants to win, and similar to Adams, there's no shot he will win in New York anytime soon. And if you want a complex breakdown of why that is, we have a video on that as well. Now, obviously, Wilson being traded is more of a long shot, but this isn't speculation either. Garrett Wilson himself has even made it known that he's unsure about his future with the Jets in the long term.
I don't know, man. I just figured I just do whatever, whatever, go about my day, however, be where my feet at, and if they do it, I would be a blessing. That'd be awesome. I love the Jets. At the end of the day, they were the ones that believed in me, so but yeah, I can't be worrying about all that. Just gonna finish these 3 games the right way, but I don't know, man. I can't be looking into all that right now,
But similar to Davante Adams, who's a walking Hall of Famer, there's a very good chance the next player on this list will follow him to Canton. The only question left is, can he do it on his current team? It really breaks my heart to say this. You guys know I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, so obviously there's some bias in this take, but I truly feel like Micah Parsons has a one-way ticket to the Hall of Fame, and he hasn't even turned 26 yet, but he already has over 50 career sacks, and he's a 3-time All-Pro in just 4 seasons. Not only that, but Micah Parsons is one of the most multi-dimensional defensive players in NFL history. Dan Quinn was notorious for literally putting him in multiple positions on defense and seeing him excel. So call me crazy, but that seems like the early makings of a future Hall of Fame edge rusher. So why in hell would the Dallas Cowboys trade Micah Parsons? Well, let's just put the Cowboys' incompetent front office aside and let's listen to what Micah Parsons had to say himself.
Micah Parsons had a strong message for the front office this week saying, quote, "Obviously, talent is here. Just got to finish and go be aggressive the same way they did. You know? I don't want to sit back and just watch other people build and I stay the same. So we definitely need some call to action."
Now, is Micah Parsons correct? In my opinion, absolutely. He's 100% correct. The Cowboys need to add pieces to be competitive, but the fact he's correct might be the same reason he gets traded. Let's remember who's in charge of this front office. It's Jerry Jones, who, let's be honest, isn't fond of criticism. We're talking about the man that waited till the last second to extend CeeDee Lamb, the man that paid Dak Prescott the most money in NFL history to ride the bench, the man that had an opportunity to make a splash with his brand new head coach, but decided to elevate Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, if the Cowboys were to extend Micah Parsons, that would make up 66% of their salary cap this year. How do you improve at that point? Trading Micah Parsons wouldn't just be stroking Jerry Jones' own ego, it also helps relieve cap space for a team that's currently $2 million over the salary cap. Then, with that extra money, they could sign some new players, which in Jerry Jones' mind at least, would be a form of sticking it to Micah Parsons. Now, does this trade make sense? No. But if there's one owner in football that is capable of making a move as dumb as this, it's Jerry Jones. The trade might not make sense to anybody not named Jerry Jones, but hey, it seems like Dallas has a solid track record of making intelligent trades throughout all sports. So at this point, nothing will surprise me, but I promise this next edge rusher trade makes a lot more sense for everybody. Now, although Maxx Crosby isn't on the exact same Hall of Fame trajectory that Micah Parsons is, he's still an All-Pro and is without a doubt one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. But now that he's about to enter his age 28 season, it seems like he's sick of wasting his career in Las Vegas.
I'm not here to rebuild, I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now, and wherever I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be here to win. So that's all that matters to me.
Unlike the last trade and the next trade on this list, this trade is simple. Maxx Crosby just wants to win, and he wants an offense led by a quarterback he can rely on. And I'm sorry, Gardner Minshew, that's not you. The Raiders simply cannot hold up that end of the bargain. I feel like this trade is more likely to happen than any other edge rusher deal on this list because the timelines simply do not match up. The Raiders are about to go full rebuild mode, which is something we've been saying since the John Gruden era ended and began. And before that, sorry, Raiders fans. So there's no telling how long that rebuild will take. So it's better to get rid of Crosby now and expedite that rebuild with whatever assets you get from that deal, while also making Maxx Crosby happy in the process. This is more of a win-win trade, unlike the next trade on this list, which seems to be completely driven by the player. Now, I know what I'm about to say is going to break some Pittsburgh Steelers fans' hearts, and I'm sorry I have to do that, but there's a very real chance that the Steelers are about to trade George Pickens. Pickens has been incredibly underrated, racking up nearly 3,000 yards receiving in his first 3 seasons with quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett, old man Russell Wilson, and a running back that happens to play the quarterback position in Justin Fields. So it would make sense that he's frustrated with the offense, and honestly, that's almost verbatim what he said.
Yeah, I seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
George, does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
Look, I know George Pickens is supposedly a diva wide receiver, but that is still one of the funniest answers I've ever heard from a wide receiver one. On paper, this trade makes a lot more sense than initially thought. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin have a history of moving on from receivers when the time is right. From Antonio Brown to Juju Smith-Schuster to Chase Claypool to even Deontay Johnson recently, the Steelers seemingly always get rid of these guys right before they fall off of a cliff. Now, I'm not saying that Pickens is about to fall off of a cliff, but if he wants to move on, and the Steelers have a history of comforting comfortably moving on from receivers, I don't see why a deal can't be made. But unlike Pickens, the next receiver on this list had one of the greatest seasons of all time, a triple crown. So why is he being traded? Well, before anyone with the Rams or the media could announce it, after the Rams season ended, Cooper Kupp announced that the Rams would be trading him this offseason. This came just 3 seasons removed from his legendary triple crown season. And although it's sad, it's what makes the most sense for the Rams, as Kupp is about to turn 32. He's been injury prone since his triple crown season, and the Rams already have his replacement in Puka Nacua. Unfortunately, this one rumor has created a lot of problems for the Rams. Kelly Stafford recently came out and said, why are the Rams trying to trade one of the focal points of the offense if they're trying to compete? Now, unfortunately, it's not that simple. Kupp has 2 seasons left on his deal, with a cap hit nearing $30 million for both seasons. And if the Rams want to build a contender around Matthew Stafford in his twilight seasons, then they're going to have to get that money off of the books and invest it into some other key positions and a healthier receiver. If Kupp can stay healthy, and that's a pretty big if, then this could be a huge trade for the acquiring team, but not as big of an acquisition as the next receiver on this list, who just at the age of 31 is a bona fide Hall of Famer. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Tyreek Hill, Hall of Famer? Really? I mean, we're talking about a wide receiver that can't even pull out of his own driveway. I don't think I even need to argue the point that Tyreek Hill is going to be a Hall of Famer. I'll just let the 8 Pro Bowls, 5 first-team All-Pros, Super Bowl championship, 11,000 yards, 83 touchdown grabs, 7 children, and 5 baby mamas do the talking. Speaking of talking, Tyreek Hill does way too much of that, as evidenced by this post-game press conference just a few months back.
This is my first time I haven't been in the playoffs, man, so I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, or if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro.
Saying you're out before the offseason begins is certainly one way to guarantee that you're about to get traded. Sure, Tyreek Hill tried to pull out of this statement saying that his return is dependent on what the Dolphins do in the draft and free agency. I think I speak for all football fans when I say, come on, Tyreek, you're not slick. You want out of Miami, and it's only a matter of time before you get your way. Unlike the next Hall of Famer on this list, who we know won't be returning to his team, but honestly, we don't know anything else. Aaron Rodgers is a 4-time MVP, 10-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, holder of the best passer rating and touchdown to interception ratio of all time. One of the greatest quarterbacks ever will not be returning to New York for his 3rd season. Why? Well, he seemingly refused to stop doing Pat McAfee interviews, which was a condition that new Jets head coach Aaron Glenn gave him if he wanted to stay with the Jets. Besides that being absolutely hilarious and honestly disputed in the media, this trade is dependent on whether or not Aaron Rodgers wants to play one more season or just retire. But considering that Aaron Rodgers said he doesn't want to retire on a low note, I do think there is a solid chance that we see Aaron Rodgers return to the gridiron for one more season. Plus, everything and everyone that leaves the Jets seem to automatically get better. His predecessor Brett Favre left the Jets after tossing 22 interceptions, and amid retirement rumors went to Minnesota and had one of the best seasons of his career. Now, if Rodgers is following Brett Favre's path, I wouldn't be shocked if he does the same, but the next quarterback on this list is probably hoping for the same thing too, otherwise his career might be over. Last offseason, the Atlanta Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal, including a $50 million signing bonus and a $100 million guarantee. So why is it that after that contract, they would draft Michael Penix 8th overall? What seemed like a blunder a year ago ended up being the ultimate insurance policy, as Kirk Cousins was absolutely terrible coming off of his torn Achilles in 2023. Kirk Cousins ended up leading the NFL in interceptions with just 14 games played, while Michael Penix actually looked pretty solid for a rookie. I wouldn't be shocked if the Falcons front office realizes that the offense is better off with a second-year Penix than a soon-to-be 40-year-old Kirk Cousins, who, if we're being honest with ourselves, looks like a shell of his former self. The only way Kirk Cousins can redeem this contract is if he is traded to another team and proves he can ball out post-torn Achilles. Now, if this trade does end up happening, I would be shocked if the Falcons don't end up eating some money just to get the contract off the books. It sucks that the Falcons made this deal and basically wasted $180 million. But on the other hand, at least they found their potential franchise quarterback in Michael Penix. Now, honestly, Kirk Cousins may be bad, but out of every single quarterback that tore his Achilles, that might be the worst. There's no question about it that Deshaun Watson takes the cake. But what if I told you there's a new Deshaun Watson? What if I told you he doesn't even play the quarterback position? Justin Tucker is in some deep We made a whole separate video on that. I'll leave it in the end screen and I'll meet you guys there. 9 new masseuses came out accusing him of doing just some terrible stuff. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.